Then I'm going to go to what Van Kempen defined as the globalization scope in the Network Conference in 2004. He really explained to us that the global scale looked like it's penetrating progressively the different lowest levels, from the urban system, big level, to the city and to the neighborhood level. Where they are at the neighborhood level, these global forces are transformed into an individual selection of forces that naturally are also reshaping deglobalization. So very much what we say here, that in the understanding of globalization as basically an expansion of the circulation and mobility of people's ideas and goods, that these are defining certain reflection or interaction from the macro level, the urban system, to the most local level or the micro level, which is the neighborhood. But this, is determining as well a local reaction that can be expressed, for instance, as Van Kempen even documented, in the proper market dynamic. What is it? Is in a way that the force of globalization applied in the specific area under the transformation of the system locally always have a reaction. A reaction that can be seen in this way as a market reaction, property, valuable property, but in the case of developing world, this is also creating not just active reaction, but very passive reaction as the actual decay of an enormous amount of land, particularly the ones who are not participating into the global related trends. So that's why we have all this enormous transformation in the developing country, just compared to the transformation that were provoked in the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe. Thus, sorry, what we say is globalization serves as a general framework, but it's not a static one, as we just see. We say that it's also an umbrella concept who open and reveal an amount of other issues. We're talking about the mobility of the society, the social mobility is part of it, the economical exchange is part of it, the cultural feature are part of it, the images are part of it and defining it. The capital is also embedded into this process and into this concept. So we said clearly that this concept ought to capture into the trends, or in a way see and obviously express into the trends that of this, the old city are catch up into this idea of becoming a global city, going to that aspect, and that can be clearly expressed from the macro to the micro scale, and from the urban systems to the neighborhood, as we said. Coming back again to how we can illustrate these, we are clearly saying or recognizing, if we go to the network theory, that basically globalization, which is clearly linking or polarizing certain functions at the global level, recognized at the different city and particularly concrete specific actors, can also be seen at the micro level from let's say the subcentralities of the city, and even recognizing the sub or the most activators at the very neighborhood level. So in this way, it's a very good illustration on how is this dynamic happening. Summarize. So, as our first aim was to take a critical look to the various strands on the academic globalization concept debate, that in a way, how is this contributing to the urban change? We have then a possible idea. Currently, the discussion, academic discussion, weigh the significant, the tension between the global and the local. So we are referring to that specificity. But this, in a way, question our first assessment clearly. Does this fact signify that the global component in the explanation of the recent dynamic on the urban change maybe is more limited than what was widely assumed? Look like it is. Then we say that while the discussion of this question concerns the characteristic of the new urban phenomena in the globalizing cities, it's also providing the link to us, to the researcher, to interpret or understand the urban change. this defines our second aim, which is under the same perspective. What we are trying to search or to establish is the variation, the difference in the way that the globalization can be interpreted in economic, social, urban geography, spatial planning. So, starting from the agreement that we have in the very two slide before, that we recognize that the global forces are penetrating the local level, but we also recognize that the local level is actually reshaping these local forces as well. So in a way, we can be agreed, we can conclude that globalization does not create a common spatial pattern, one specific for all, which is repeated in each country. So we also say that globalization is not the main force who drives the city, but clearly we said that yes, globalization allows and facilitates the hypermobility of capital, goods, and etc. And the accountments of such images and values that this determine are in a way clearly defining the city. So we say, although that these forces that moving around the world could be the same and could be recognized clearly, we also say that they work out very differently at the individual cities and at individual countries. So the result is diversity, rather than standard development. So in a way we see that diversity, and even though that sometimes this diversity cannot be seen so clearly and obviously, the reason and the individual choice that determine the local dynamic of the city is reinforcing this concept. So by extension, and assuming that every country occupies a different position in the global economy, that means when a country, as using the definition of Sasson, become to the core, the semi-periphery of the global decision making on the global issue, on the main developing issue. This is also a criteria that determine different kind of influence. So we can say that while all the countries are challenged by the globalization process, each one articulates its own response, its own action, and determine under a specific framework. So what you see, there are many diverse ways to connect the global capital system, neoliberal system, which is correlated to the global city model. So therefore, we can say that the urban change occurs in ways and directions that respond to the specific or the specificity of each country.